Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Rajesh Gamata. Welcome to this presentation on industrial data ops for AI era. So I am joined by my partner colleague, Harry Gavel from Litmus, who is the Director of Partnerships. So like in this particular talk, we are going to be talking about exactly how Litmus Edge and Litmus product interfaces with the AWS to solve the industrial data ops problem. So what's the problem which we are looking at? Customers have a lot of data, right, in different silos. It might be time series data, it might be PNID, it might be others. So the question is, if they want to construct a use case, you need to create a data pipeline. And if the customer is happy about it and they want to scale from one use case to another, they have to recreate those pipelines, which is very expensive and time consuming as well. So to that effect, we created a framework of a solution which is powered by both AWS and partner solutions. So which we call it as Industrial Data Fabric. So the Industrial Data Fabric consists of 4 different parts. One is for ingest of the data from both IT and OT systems, do the store, and most importantly, contextualize the data because that's where the value is. And then having applications which can leverage the data to act upon it. So to that effect, one of our partner is Litmus. And this is a hybrid cloud architecture which talks about Litmus Edge, which is tightly integrated with one of our industrial IoT service where customers can easily buy and connect to industrial devices and then send the data to the cloud from where we have applications and partner applications which can leverage the data to move forward. So with that, I will hand it over to Harry, who will take you forward in terms of Litmus.
Sounds great. Hi, everybody. My name is Harry Graywall. I'm with Litmus. I manage our cloud partnerships. Talking about Litmus, I don't know how many of you have heard about Litmus, but we're an edge data platform, full stack from data connectivity to integration with the cloud, and a lot of things happening in the middle. So essentially, the problem that we see, hang on. Yeah, all right. So the problem that we see over years of our experience has been threefold, right? There's a base level factory challenge where you need to unlock your data. And these data could be trapped in multiple different assets. You could have Siemens PLCs, you could have CNC machines, you could have historians, you could have databases, you have message brokers, you have other PLCs. So what Litmus has done over the period of last about 8 years of our existence is we've built our intellectual property around being able to connect to any and every asset on the plant floor. So that eliminates your challenge number 1, which is how do I get my data in a way that I can manage and control that information in a single platform. Once we unlock that data, the next step becomes how do we activate it? Now, with modern technologies, with everything that we want to do with our data, going forward, now you have to provide some structure to that information. You can't send raw data streams to the cloud and have somebody figure it out. That is a very expensive exercise, and we've seen our customers go through that exercise and work through those challenges in a period of months and years. And then the challenge is really how do you scale that out? Scaling is the quintessential challenge within manufacturing. What we see is you can build out your stack, you can plug in different pieces of software on a plant floor, create a vertically integrated factory, but does that factory really scale horizontally across your enterprise? That's where we step in and we talk about how Litmus plugs in that gap. So from a platform, Litmus really bridges the gap between IT and OT. That's been a huge challenge within the industry overall. Where we find this very relevant is when we start talking about Industry 4.0, when we start talking about how do you adapt AI in a manufacturing environment, how do you make it work seamlessly. So that's where the challenge really is, and that's where us as a platform, we're that missing middle. Once we bring in that full stack, it allows you to now achieve your goals with a standardized data stream that is collected from every asset, that is now unified across the enterprise through a centralized managed architecture. Imagine deploying 50 plants with an edge instance not having capability to manage it, not having the capability to change your models, not having the capability to service any requests from the plant. So Litmus has a twofold solution with edge management running in AWS that now connects and collects data from all your industrial assets from the edge instances. And then we work with AWS with our integrations, and that's how we really connect to SiteWise by providing a scalable data infrastructure where Litmus takes care of the edge piece and the OT side, and we work with AWS on the cloud side, creating a truly hybrid edge to cloud platform. Now, this allows us to really achieve a lot of scale across the board because now your platform at the OT side is standardized through Litmus Edge and managed through Edge Manager and integrated into SiteWise in a much more scalable way using templated solutions from one factory to the other. Now, this allows us to be very proactive to customer demands if anything changes. If you want to leverage more AWS services in the future, it still allows you to be agile, using our edge management functions to be able to change things on the fly across multiple plants without having to remote in, without having to send people to service the platform. That is where we come back to our initial slide, which talks about how do we achieve that threefold challenge and how do we solve it without having piecemeal technology that is deployed at each plant to plug in whatever gaps exist within that particular plant. In the previous discussion, if you were hearing, they were talking about how do you really scale something like that? How do you really now build context into information? And how do you really do it across the enterprise? And how do you still get time to value? How do you still leverage the cloud to provide value at the end of the day? You provide it by standardizing your goals, standardizing your data, standardizing your approach across plants. There's certainly investments, but you have to think about those investments in the long term because every booth that you go to around here is talking about AI. Now, AI is achievable. It's greatly achievable if you plug in your SAP data that's all standardized, managed. But if you look at your plant data, it's not standardized, it's not contextualized, it's not scalable. How do you leverage AI at scale with somebody like AWS? And that is the challenge that we're together solving is by talking about how do we bring AI to the industry in a scalable, much more secure way that is a hybrid edge to cloud function. And that's where Litmus in AWS partnership really comes in. And one such use case that I want to talk about is at one of our joint customers, and this is based in India at a customer named EID Perry, where they had a lot of organizational challenges when it comes to data. They had multiple factories. They had multiple data streams that were all, they all looked and felt different. Now, they wanted to leverage AWS as their standard manufacturing data platform. The challenge they really came through is how do we now solve this challenge in a way that we don't have to now go to the next factory and figure out what the next piece of software we need to plug in the gaps. Instead, they chose to pick a single platform that deploys on the edge that allows them to do everything that they wanted to do as far as that relates to data. So collecting data, contextualizing that information, building workflows locally, calculating their KPIs locally, and then combining that with asset structures in SiteWise, as well as pushing this data to S3 in the parallel so they can leverage some of the AI capabilities on the AWS side. As a result, you can see, I'm not going to walk through each one of the efficiencies that they gained, but you can look at some of the efficiency gains. That is just after 6 months of all their 15 plants being integrated into AWS. So together, we were able to bring in 15 sites in a matter of about 6 months together, online on a platform, standardized data, manageable at scale, data also being replicated on AWS at scale. It provides us all the capabilities now we need to execute on a larger strategy going forward because every use case that you're going to build is going to be based off of the data. That's where we differentiate from a lot of the products in the industries, we don't focus on a use case. We focus on the core set, which is the data and the structure within it. If the data is not available, not structured, not contextualized, not calculated upon, how are you going to build any sort of scalable use case on top of that across your enterprise? So that is where Rajesh and team, as well as the IDF team and Litmus, are working together on bringing scale like this to customers that are common between Litmus and AWS. With that, I want to pass to Rajesh for any final comments, and then we can take any questions that you have.
Yeah, like, I would encourage folks to visit the Litmus booth, which is just across the, this divider. And Litmus has a lot of connectors, so they can connect to any of the edge devices and contextualize the data and send the payload. And they have AI functionality and much, much more. So I would highly recommend you to visit the booth. And this is a solution which is tightly integrated with the AWS services, where customers can purchase Litmus right from AWS console and move forward.
No, thank you. We're happy to take any questions that you folks may have.
If not, thank you for attending, and looking forward to visiting you in the Litmus booth.